Living in turmoil is a phase that is temporary, regardless of how intensive it gets. Because in reality, it's the enemy that creates this turmoil, this test of faith. Like, um, like I don't believe that life should be lived in constant turmoil, and that's not what life is for. To be always confused, to be always under stress, to be, how would you say it, living in confusion. That's not what life is for. If I'm going through this, if, how would you say it, if I am undergoing a phase with these aspects, you know, it's only a phase. Regardless of how long it is, regardless if it's 7, 10 years, 20 years, regardless, you know, regardless, that doesn't matter. It's a test, it's a test, and you were to think 20 years is a long time, is a very difficult test, you know, but that's what the enemy is. That's what the enemy is, very much like Job, very much like Job, where there's Satan, that's overlooking, and he tells God, you know what? He doesn't rebel because you have him satisfied. You have him with, everything that he wants and needs. So he's not going to rebel against you, you know. And in this case, in reality, it's society. Society, and one administration, one underworld administration telling another, you know what? It's not possible because of this. It's not possible because of that. And they'll take and they'll take and they'll take. They'll censor your reality. They'll censor your reality so much, that everybody around you will have nothing to say about it, because basically they're part of it. They'll take everything from you. They'll take access to everything. They'll even take access to internet. They'll take access to internet. They'll take access. They'll No new food products will come out, and the reality will be censored beyond censored. You know, and that's what they do. That's what they do. It's not the devil. It's an underworld administration. It's society. It's the world that we're born into. You know, and like, at first, you cannot understand it, but then you start to realize, you start to get, a sense of it. You start to understand, and then it starts to make sense. But like I said, it's only temporary. It's only temporary. That this, how would you say it, this phase is created by the enemy, by the enemies, you know, living in turmoil, living in confusion, not understanding why, how would you say it, the local police department is the way it is, you know, and you run into it. You run into, how would you say it, into the flaws in society, and this living in turmoil, this living in confusion. I have learned to accept that if I'm living in that phase, in a phase with turmoil, that it's only a matter of time. That if I'm living in that phase, in a phase with turmoil, that it's already over. That I should look toward the future, toward the future, because the present is already over, you know. And sometimes I get, like, how would you say it, frustrated and this and that, and sometimes how would you say it, I get agitated. But then I start to think about, the people that are right now in the hospital dying of some type of disease. You know, they're missing limbs, and some people are blind, and this and that, and teenagers are killing each other. And I think about all those situations, and then I think about the life that I have lived. It's not so, how would you say it? Not to be so dramatic about it, it's not so bad compared to other situations that I have seen. You know, it's not so bad that I could go through it. I can go through this. You know, and continue. To the next phase, to what lies ahead.